there was definitely food at home, and I definitely cried having to eat said food at home because that's not what we wanted, okay? Once you see everything listed out in front of you with like a visual or like whatever it is, it's really easy for you to identify where your money is going and then use that information to figure out where you want it to go. Sometimes I have a very cheap mindset and it's giving Mr. Krabs. So sometimes it's bad, most of the times it's good. When you're thinking about this, it's also important to think about what specific feelings come up. Like, is it shame that you feel when you're spending money on yourself, specifically like spending money on clothes or whatever? Or do you feel guilty treating yourself to this little sweet treat after dinner or something like that? Let's develop some personality, okay? Develop some hobbies, and then maybe the bank account won't be crying as much. Hi everyone, welcome back to Transplants, the podcast for 20-somethings moving to a new city and trying to navigate all the trials and tribulations that come with it. I'm your host Joyce, and today we're going to be talking about that moolah, that green, that ching, okay? We're going to be talking about money because it's time to get your money up, not your funny up. I've been doing more research on the personal finance front. I feel like my personal finance journey started in college when I was relying on those refund checks to get me through. Okay, if you know, you know. And now that I don't have that free money anymore, which is very unfortunate, I've been learning how to navigate, money as an adult for the first time, which I feel like a lot of us are in the same boat. So I just wanted to take the time to do a little personal finance 101 and share all the things that I've learned in the beginnings of my personal finance journey, because your early 20s / your 20s in general is a very critical time for you to be doing certain things to set you up for future success, especially if you want to like have a business or like retire early or raise a family, different things like that. This is a time where you need to be thinking about those things, even though it may seem like it's a far away time, like 30, 40 years from now. But girl, if you don't have money at that time, then what are we doing? You know what I mean? So without further ado, let's talk about that money. I got beans in the coop, busting out the roof. Okay, so money. Before we talk about all that, disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. I am not certified in any financial advice realm type of thing. This is just me sharing the information that I've collected over the past couple months / years, and hopefully this can serve as a good starting point for people who are also in their early to mid 20s trying to figure it out, because the way that money is presented sometimes it seems like overcomplicated, but I'm gonna try my best to break it down into simple steps. But yeah, please don't sue me. And if you take my advice and things work out badly for you, then I didn't say nothing. Okay. So when you start to think about money in your 20s, I feel like a lot of people, the narrative that's pushed a lot in like social media and things like that is like, get rich quick, like be able to travel all the time and pay for all these dinners, and essentially having a lot of money is what people push and portray. And while that is great and all, we're going to talk about ways to get there. Before you even start thinking about that, you have to take a few steps back and think about your relationship with money. How was money talked about in your household growing up? Did you even have a lot of money growing up? Did you not? How did your parents communicate about money to you? I personally grew up in an immigrant household in Tejas, and my parents, we grew up middle class. Like, we had a regular 2-story house in Texas, and we were pretty well off. We were able to take a vacation almost every year when I was younger, which I'm very grateful for, and definitely acknowledge the privilege that we were able to do that, because I know not everyone can. While I was able to experience all those great things as a kid, at the same time, my parents definitely instilled the value of saving money within me and my younger siblings. They were always like, save money. If you want to like buy this big thing, you gotta save, you gotta work, you gotta do these things, save money, live better. And there was definitely, the narrative of like, there's food at home. We weren't eating McDonald's all the time, although I could mess up a 10-piece chicken nugget with sweet and sour sauce and a big old Sprite. It's not like we were eating that every single day. You know what I mean? But overall, I'm very grateful to my parents for instilling that value in me, because sometimes Sometimes I find myself being very stingy and cheap nowadays. If I'm like, oh, this is like $20 for this thing or whatever, I could get it for like 10 or something somewhere else. Sometimes I have a very cheap mindset and it's giving Mr. Krabs. So sometimes it's bad, most of the times it's good. But overall, like I said, it's definitely important for you to take a step back, think about your upbringing, and figure out what your relationship with money is as it exists today and like the root of that. Once you've established like your relationship with money and kind of gone back to the root of it, you can start to take a look at your finances as they exist today and use that information to make decisions and plans for your future. So what I would recommend is, if you're like budgeting for the first time, I'm about to get all into the nitty gritty in my budgeting journey because it has not been easy and I've definitely reevaluated it constantly. But if you're just starting out with just like looking at your money, I would first start with thinking about how it feels when you spend money on different things, whether it's like a bill or like if you're going on a trip or if you're spending money buying clothes or spending money just different things that we have to pay for. Think about what it feels like when you're spending money on those things. Like, oh, I enjoy spending money on trips and on clothes and on food, different things like that, which I think can be applied across the board. Or you like spending money on books. Whatever it is, think about how it feels when you purchase those things because it'll help you make parameters for your budget. When you're thinking about this, it's also important to think about what specific feelings come up. Like, is it shame that you feel when you're spending money on yourself, specifically like spending money on clothes or whatever? Or do you feel guilty treating yourself to this little sweet treat after dinner or something like that? Really pay attention over maybe like the next 2 weeks or month. When you're purchasing something, think about how you feel, write it down, and we'll circle back on that, okay? So this is where I think we can start to get into budgeting. And I know the word budgeting can seem a little like daunting and scary at first because I know the connotation can sometimes be like restricting and limiting on the way like you spend and on you live, but that's not necessarily the case. You can set up a budget that works for you, works for your lifestyle, all the things. You just have to take the time to look at your money, how you're spending it now, and determine how you want to spend it in the future. So if you're entering the world of budgeting for the first time, I recommend start by simply tracking your money and kind of just having a transaction log of everything that's coming and going from your bank account. If you have like credit cards, do this for your credit cards as well. Just start literally listing every single transaction. You can do this physically, like manually in an Excel or a Google Sheet, or you can use an app to do this. I personally use Google Sheets just because that's what works for me, and I like seeing everything in one place and just having like, I don't know, a sense of control over it. Start by simply tracking your money and putting all the transactions into very easy, like high level buckets for you to understand. So some that I have include bills, shopping, entertainment, groceries, subscriptions, miscellaneous, different categories like that. And you can start to categorize all your transactions and like your income into these buckets that can help you break down where you're spending money. And then like once you have that broken down, say like for the past month or so, you can really start to see where you're spending your money and where most of your money goes to on any given month. Like, oh, I spend like 25% of my income on eating out. And while I do love eating out, I think I could cut back so that I can spend more money working on this project that I have or something like that. Once you see everything listed out in front of you with like a visual or like whatever it is, it's really easy for you to identify where your money is going and then use that information to figure out where you want it to go. So for example, when I first started doing this, I realized I was spending a little bit more money on like eating out, like on food and drinks and stuff, but I'd rather invest that money in like experiences and like traveling, things like that. So that was a really helpful, I guess, like recalibration for me to be like, oh, I've been spending a lot on going out. Let me tone that back a little bit, spend maybe a little bit more on groceries, and then the rest that I'm saving from like not going out to eat and drink and things like that, I can put that in like a savings fund for like future trips and things like that. This whole process, you could kind of think of it as like a money date with yourself, because you're taking the time to look at your finances, look at your transactions, you're seeing where you're spending your money, kind of doing some introspective work to determine where you want it to go instead. And you're just, taking the time to be with yourself, look at your finances, and set yourself up for success. And this is something that I would recommend doing probably at least on a monthly basis. I mean, I would definitely aim to budget, or at least update, quote unquote, update your budget every single week. That's what I do, and I will definitely walk through that. But a holistic money date where you look at like your finances, how much was spent versus how much came into your bank account, how you're tracking to your future goals. Are you paying off your debts? Are you investing? Things like that. That's something that I would do on a monthly basis. And it doesn't have to be super extensive, and you don't have to like beat yourself up about it, because especially if you're first starting out, it can be very daunting to see everything all at once. But I think this is definitely a good practice for you to establish and get into, because once you have like a better understanding of your money, you'll be able to make much more informed decisions and set yourself up for future success. Once you figured out your quote unquote buckets that you want to like spend more money in, or maybe spend less money in, a tip that has really helped me is to manufacture scarcity. And with money in general, I'm kind of speaking out of two sides of my mouth here, but you shouldn't have a scarcity mindset when thinking about your finances and your money, because, you want to have, the abundance mindset. Every money flows to me, that woo-woo stuff. But generally speaking, it helps to approach money with an abundance mindset and not from a place of like scarcity and lack. But on the contrary, if you find yourself spending a lot on like food and drink, and that's not necessarily something that fulfills you or something that you want to like adjust for future, it's been helpful for me to manufacture a scarcity mindset and kind of put limits on myself for every month for any given category. So like, for example, on food and drink this month, I can only spend $80. And if I'm at like I only have $20 left for any given month. I'm like, okay, I only have $20 left. I can only buy maybe one good meal or like 2 or 3 small meals, and that's it. I cannot go over. I can stay under, but I cannot go over for this month. And that's really helped me, especially when thinking about like going out with friends or things like that. I'm like, you guys, I'm over the shopping budget for this month. I'm over the entertainment and like food and drink budget for this month. So I'll go, but I won't be spending any money. And my friends have been very accepting and honoring that. And sometimes my friend will buy me a little drink because I'm not spending money. And I'm like, oh, thank you, girl. But I don't put pressure on myself in social settings to spend money, even though everyone else is. And I'm very grateful to have friends that respect that. And if you don't, then we need to do some reevaluating, okay? Because your friends should honor and respect your goals and, support you in achieving those goals. If they're not, then let's offline about that and circle back, okay? With all that being said, I'm going to talk through a high level, like step by step of what I do when going through my budget. So I bought this like template, this Google Sheets template on Etsy that I really like the layout of it. And I can link it in the show notes description or whatever. But if it's not for you, I definitely recommend taking the time to figure out like a template layout structure that works for you. Because I definitely went through a bunch of different iterations for the way I like to budget, like trying an app, trying different layouts on Excel, Google Sheets, whatever. Finally landed on this and I'm really enjoying it. But if it doesn't work for you, don't use it. Hello? Do whatever works for you and your lifestyle. But in this template, it has like different tabs across the bottom, and it has a place where you can do your annual planning for the year, and then you can set up your finances or track your finances by month. So for the yearly setup, you spend how much you put in how much you're projected to make every single month and spend every single month on different expenses. So I have all of that listed out. And then there's a big transaction log tab where you basically just put in every single transaction that happens within your bank account or credit card, whatever. I personally put in all the transactions within my bank account, and then my 2 credit cards. Depending on how you use your money and how you use your credit cards, you can do different systems to track said money, but I just like keeping all of it in one place and knowing how much money is being spent across the board. But if that doesn't work for you, then that doesn't work for you. But I track all transactions across those 3 accounts in one tab, and then that populates into a monthly view. And it's been so helpful for me to see everything by month, so I can like evaluate the monies every 31 days, and then use that as information to like set up my budget for the next month. So if I spent like $300 on shopping this month, I'm going to limit myself to $60 next month. So all those transactions will populate into a monthly view that I can see, but I like to update my budget every single week on every single Friday, Saturday, whatever during the weekend, just so that I can see on a more frequent basis how much money I'm spending. So like during the month, if it's like say September 10th, I see that I've already spent $20 on food and drink this month, and my total budget for the month was $40. I know that I only have $20 left to spend on food and drink, and I can use that information accordingly for the rest of the month. So that is how I like to budget. And then I keep like the Google Sheets app on my phone, so I have that readily available. Like I said, there's different apps you can use to track your spending. Hopefully that gives you a good foundation to start budgeting in your 20s if you haven't already. Even if you're just starting out, you feel like a little scared to start doing it. It's just easy. I feel better knowing where my money is going at the end of the day, because when you're just living your life every single day, you see the bank account dwindling, and it's like, sure, it's like fine because you're just living your life and experiencing all the things, which is great. Definitely want you to live your best life. At the same time, if the money just keeps going down and is never going up, then we have a problem. And once you start to track your finances and really know what is going on, then you can make better decisions, have better boundaries with yourself and with others, and make you hopefully live an even better life. But yeah, if you're just starting out, start simple. There's a lot of different resources for you out there to just give you advice and like step-by-step things on how to budget, because like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just a collection of all my knowledge, but some of the resources that I used were other podcasts. The Financial Feminist, I would recommend. They did like a mini series within their show that was, I think, 7 really short episodes on like starting out with finance and like your personal finance journey. So I would recommend that. I'll link all of these things that I talk about in the show notes. But The Financial Feminist was really good. Life Kit by NPR is a podcast that I really like. They cover a variety of different topics about just life in general, and they have a few different money episodes. There was one in particular that really helped me. I don't remember what it was called, but again, it'll be linked in the show notes. And then there's a few that was a weird noise that just came out of my mouth. I don't know if the mic picked it up, but anywho, there's a few books as well. I'm starting I Will Teach You to Be Rich by what's his name? Ramit Sethi. I hope I pronounced his name right. Apologies if I didn't. But that is a book that's on my shelf. We Can All Be Millionaires, or like How to Be a Millionaire, is another one that's on my shelf. And then The Psychology of Money, especially when you're like starting out, like I said, at the top and thinking about your relationship with money, is a good one to have in your back pocket. But yeah, in the world of personal finance, in addition to budgeting, there's also saving and investing. And when thinking about saving and investing, the top thing to keep in mind is time. And in your 20s, that is the greatest asset you have. You should definitely start saving and investing in your 20s if you haven't already. The earlier, the better. And I know a lot of us don't get that financial education when we're younger. I know I didn't get the rundown on like how to invest and all these great things. I know my parents, like I said, instilled the value of like saving money in me, and they opened up like a CD account for me and all my siblings, which was definitely appreciated, but you know, they're not the most financial savvy people in the world. And there's other people who have the privilege of having parents who taught them all those things, but the rest of us who are here learning it together, we see each other, okay? When thinking about your savings and investments, I think it's super important for you to have a goal in mind. I mean, it's definitely good to just save and invest generally speaking, but having an end goal, I think, provides a bit more motivation for you to be more in touch with your finances and be a little bit more disciplined in the way you spend money. So for example, you could be like, I want to save up 5K in an emergency fund, or I want to save up 3K for this trip or something like that, or like have 10K in investments, things like that. I think that's helpful for you. It's a helpful thing to keep in the back of your mind when you're eating, you know, ramen noodles for the third night in a row and you want to be out enjoying a really nice dinner at an Italian restaurant, but you can't because you're saving towards this larger goal, right? But when thinking about your goals, definitely, as cheesy as like and overplayed as like the SMART goals acronym is, I think it's definitely a useful tool to think about when setting your goals, because you want your money goals to be attainable. You definitely want them to be like a stretch goal, but you want them to be attainable. You want to reach them in a reasonable amount of time. And it's just good to use that as a framework when setting up your savings like and investing goals. In terms of the process of like saving and investing, this is like the order of operations that I've seemed to gather when on like my personal finance journey, but the finance peoples recommend saving up your emergency fund first and saving up around 3 months worth of living expenses. So your rent, your utilities, groceries, car note, things like that. Once you have your emergency fund set up, start to pay off debts with high interest rates, and that usually comprises of credit cards, which I am definitely suffering that every single month. Love that for me. Once you've paid off your high debt interest rates or your debts with high interest rates, you can start to tackle debts with lower interest rates. So that will be like student loans, things like that. And for a general ballpark of interest rate, student loan rates are pretty low. They're usually like less than 10%, depending on what route you went for like your financial aid and student loans in school. And then credit cards can be like upwards of like 15, 20, 24%, 28%. It's really atrocious, to be honest. And it's a scam. I hate it so much, but we survive and we suffer the consequences. After your debts with low interest rates, that's when you can start to put money into investments. Because if you are just like starting off putting money in investments and you have no money like saved up that is readily available for you to use, then what are you going to do when like your car breaks down or like, God forbid, you get evicted or something like that? It's important for you to have that emergency fund first that is readily available for you, and then you can build all these other things on the side. If you've started your personal finance journey, then you know that your savings should be in a high yield savings account. And it's basically just a savings account of an APR of probably like 4 or 5%, so that your money that you're putting in is making money for you, right? And there's a lot of different banks that offer savings account with high yield rates, and they're usually, pro tip, not like your everyday bank account like a Chase or like a Wells Fargo or anything like that. I've seen a lot of like online banks that have good savings rates. I personally use Ally or Ally Bank, however you say it. But just be sure if you're going that route to look if it's, what's the acronym? FDIC approved. There's an acronym, I don't remember what it is, but just make sure that it's like accredited and your money is not going to go somewhere that you will never find it again. But yeah, be sure to look for rates of 4 or 5% APR for your saving account, and you'll be good to go. And then just contribute to that monthly, however much you can. But yeah, that's the general order of operations that I've learned from like the finance gurus. So to recap, again, it's number 1, fill up your emergency fund. Number 2, tackle high interest debts. Number 3, tackle low interest debts. And then number 4, invest. But me personally, I'm doing all 4 of those at the same time. And that may not be the best route to take, but it works for me. So basically, I guess starting at the top, I contribute the most money to my emergency fund because that's obviously the most important. And then like for my debts, I at least pay my minimums every single month. But if there's extra that I can pay every month, I will put extra towards the high interest rates, i.e. my credit card, because that is literally, the credit card bill every single month is really, really painful because the interest, you're paying just so much more in interest than like you actually spent on the card, which is really annoying and really sucks, but we survive. Like I said, extra that I have goes towards paying off my high interest credit cards. I pay the minimum on my student loans every single month because that is just, she's over there. And then I do invest every single month. I have a 401k and a Roth IRA, and I definitely recommend opening up both because a 401k is usually opened up through your employer. I luckily have one through my employer as well, and every employer is different, but they usually match how much you contribute to your 401k. So essentially you're getting free money. Every employer has like a different minimum percent. So it'll be like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8%. So if you invest like a certain percent of your paycheck every single month, they'll essentially double that amount of money and contribute that amount of money to your 401k as well. So like I said, free money. We love to see it. So if you're not doing that already and your employer has a 401k benefits thing, definitely look into that because you're missing out on so much money already. So yeah, 401k. And then on your own, you can open an individual Roth IRA, like an individual investing account. And that I just contribute literally like $20 a month. Not a lot, but at least it's money, okay? And at least it's accruing some bit of interest over the next couple of years. I definitely want to get to a point where I max out my Roth IRA every single year, but I'm not at that point yet. So in the meantime, I'm contributing my little $20 a month and calling it a day. But yeah, if you haven't started on any of those things, please do, because you're missing out on so much money that you could have like sitting ready for you to retire. There's different calculators that you can use online to see how much money you would have by the time you retire at like 65 or whatever age you want to retire. You can put in what age you want to retire, your projected contribution to an account every single month, and all these different like little inputs. It's very simple, but it'll show you how much you're projected to have. And once you see that number, you'll be like, ooh, okay, hopefully it'll get you off your little booty and starting to put money away. In addition to retirement accounts like your Roth and your like 401k, there's like investing in like the stock market and things like that. And I'm still learning that area of investing, but from what I've gathered, it's easy for you to start investing if you want to do the stock market route with index funds, which are basically just funds that pool from the top whatever companies in the market, if that makes sense. So like the S&P 500, I was about to say Indy 500, but I'm pretty sure that's a car race, so never mind. But do your little research on index funds. That's like the easiest way to get or to start investing in the stock market if that's something that you're interested in. There's different like brokerage accounts that you can establish yourself with. I really cannot speak today, but do your own research on which brokerage account you would like to set up with, because that's account is how you invest in the stock market. Some take like an advisor fee, is that what it's called? If you let the people, do the investing for you, or you can like not do that altogether and like place investments on your own. If you're interested in a future episode all about like investing, saving, all that fun stuff, I'd love to get a guest on the show who is more educated and well versed in that area. So if you know of anybody that I should reach out to, please let me know. And to close out this episode, just wanted to share a few quick tips that I've learned over the years on just navigating money and trying to live our best financial life. The first one is not to go shopping when you're hungry, especially grocery shopping, because then you're just going to buy all these different little snacks and things that look appealing to you. But when you get home and maybe like it's a week later, you're like, ooh, I actually don't want these chips. I was just hungry when I was shopping, and now I have these chips that are going to go bad, or I have to like throw away or something, and it's just a waste of money. So yeah, please don't go shopping when you're hungry, because then you're just going to pick off everything off the shelf, and we don't want that. My next tip is to develop hobbies. And that might sound weird at first, but if you've seen the viral tweets and posts on social media about how girls love to go to Target, TJ Maxx, Home Goods, the trifecta, all those little stores, Five Below, hello. There's, the stores that I'm talking about, but there's been different memes about how girls love to go to those stores, do a little shopping, do a little one-sue. And I'm definitely guilty of doing that because, hello, retail therapy, they have so many cute things for cheap, but I've been practicing restraint and I've been investing time in hobbies. So if you have hobbies, then you won't just, go to Target for fun. You won't go to Marshall's for fun. And I feel like that practice, of just going to the store for fun has definitely been instilled in me from a young age, because my mom would do that sometimes. And also, if you grow up in a town where there's like not much to do and you're just bored, it's like, oh, let's go walk around Target and blah, 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 blah. I used to do that a lot with my friends in like high school and college, but now we're growing past it. Okay. Develop some hobbies that are at home where you don't spend money, maybe you spend maybe you spend money on initial costs for like equipment. Oh, sorry. Maybe you spend money on upfront costs of equipment, like if you're trying to draw or like do anything art related. Maybe you spend money on like some clay or like a sketchbook or pencils or things like that. That is fine. But once you have all those things, actually use them, and get your money's worth. So do your little drawing in the park, do your little drawing at home, do your little sewing at home, do your little Lego kits at home. Oh, girl, I love me a Lego flower kit, and I'll build my little Lego flowers. I'll put on my movie, and I'll have a grand old time. So yeah, let's develop some personality, okay? Develop some hobbies, and then maybe the bank account won't be crying as much. And then lastly, friendly reminder to maintain discipline. I know it can be hard at first when you're first starting your personal finance journey. It can be a lot to think about at once because, you want to achieve these different things for yourself and achieve these things for your present self, your future self, whatever it may be. I know I felt overwhelmed at first, but once you start to have that discipline, it will come more easily. And discipline is built over time. Don't beat yourself up if you mess up in the beginning, because it's a learning journey. It takes some time to just wrap your head around things and just to learn the different things. Start to build that trust in yourself slowly with small tasks, and then you'll be able to, do the dang thing and really turn it around. So that concludes today's episode. I hope it was a helpful baseline, groundwork for those of you who are tackling budgeting and your personal finance journey for the first time. I definitely went through a lot of hiccups and bumps in the road on my personal finance journey, and I anticipate that they will continue to come, unfortunately. But I feel like I have a good set of knowledge so far that will help me make good decisions. Like I said, give yourself grace in the beginning. It can be difficult if you don't know what you're doing, but at the end of the day, it's not really that hard once you have the information. It just takes time, really. So be patient with yourself. Reference this episode in the future. You can come back to it. Like I said, there will be resources in the show notes for you to look at as well. And yeah, that concludes today's episode. Please be sure to follow Transplants Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to hear a specific topic on the show, there is a topic request form in the show notes. Please be sure to fill it out because I'm sure what you're thinking about could benefit myself and everyone else listening, because we're all trying to grow together. We're all trying to uplift each other, and I want to make content that is beneficial to you. So please do that. Oh, I just hit my hair. Love that for me. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, you're not as alone as you think.